We begin our tale with Whis coming up with a splendid idea. Now, I'm not exactly sure why I love the way that Whis is drawn in this panel. It just makes him look so cheerful and happy. It is very reminiscent of some of the pleasant emotions that Whis has gone throughout Dragon Ball Super. It just highlights all of those in one panel and looks very similar to how he looks when he's talking about food. So I definitely appreciate the artwork here. Honestly, I think out of this chapter, this is my favorite panel. And he has a great and splendid idea. It is time for Goku and Vegeta to come up with new apprentices and train new proteges, because that way they can learn from a teaching experience, which is something that we've already seen in Goku Trains Caulifla. And I know in the last chapter of Goku Trains Caulifla, the question was asked why we are training Universe 6 Saiyans and Universe 7, because we haven't asked that question yet. This is a completely different story in that same vein, where now we are getting the answer. It is Whis' idea to do so. Vegeta understandably is not 100% on this idea. He doesn't want to do this, obviously, because Vegeta is not much of a sensei, but Goku is ecstatic. This is going to be fun. But after a few hours of drumming up candidates for apprenticeship, we have Beerus shooting down only one, and that is Broly, the only one that Goku really wants to train on Beerus' planet. Goku pleads with Beerus that Broly has come so far in his training. I guess Goku has been training him on his own. This is taking place right after Dragon Ball Super, obviously. And Beerus is like, no, that Saiyan does not qualify to be trained under a destroyer, let alone to step foot on this planet. So there's a few things you can take from this. Number one, Beerus is scared of Broly and doesn't want to train him. That's probably what most of you guys are going to say in the comment section. That could be a huge possibility that he does not want to train Broly. And I see more that he understands that Broly isn't trainable. He's an easily trained. He's more of a headache than he's worth, and he could destroy Beerus' planet, leaving Beerus with no choice but to Hakai him, or even worse, lift a finger to stop him without Hakaiing him. So yeah, he doesn't want to deal with Broly, and this pisses Goku off in a very Goku way. He thinks this stinks. He wants to train Broly. This is the only reason that this scenario would be fun for him, and this would be perfect for Broly to get more experience. But Vegeta agrees with Beerus that this is not the right call. But here goes Goku going to bat for Broly, saying that he's a good person and we just can't keep leaving him out of training experiences and scenarios and all these type of things, because we are afraid that he is going to get too emotional and destroy things. But Vegeta is 100% on this, and he actually makes a lot of sense. If his power is tied to his mental state and he can't control his mind, he can't control his power, making him too dangerous not only for this planet but for Earth and the entire multiverse if he becomes more powerful. But Goku sees a way that this could help him deal with that. He could actually learn how to control his power under this training. But Vegeta says you have to use your better judgment. The answer is no. And Goku really is at a loss as to who he is going to train. Vegeta suggests, what about those women from Universe 6? And then Goku thinks about them, Caulifla and Kale, and then he thinks about Kale, and he's like, wait a minute, Kale? You mean her? And you can see Kale looking all bulky here. Obviously, this is going to be anime Kale, not manga Kale. And Goku comes up with a good point. It'd be the same thing as him training Broly. And there are a lot of good points being made back and forth, and Vegeta has a great rebuttal, and that is, don't matter, she can control it better than he can, and it'll be out of convenience. Kaba can connect with them just like he did while recruiting for the Tournament of Power, and that's true. Vegeta gets Kaba, and Goku gets Kale and Caulifla. He can train both of them. Obviously, Caulifla would be easier to train because she's very similar to Goku, and she's a fast learner, and he already kind of trained her a little bit. But I think what Vegeta's getting at here is that Goku really wants to train Broly, and Kale's like, discount Broly. Broly Light. Walmart brand Broly. And so he kind of gets his cake and eats it too, because he can train essentially a Broly through Kale. And so his choice, his focus is going to be primarily on Kale, even though it seems that Vegeta and Goku are both going to be training, all three of them, very similarly at the same time. So this is going to be a next stepping stone to train the next generation of Saiyans from Universe 6. And once they bring the information to Whis, Whis is like, I'm going to give up my sister, and we are going to go bring them here right away. I'm sure she'll be fine with it. And Vegeta's thinking very slyly like, I don't really care about training the Universe 6 Saiyans. I just want to see Kale beat the shit out of Goku again. And that is just quintessential Vegeta. I would love to see that as well. But this, again guys, is a story of Goku x Kale, and you can see that it's going in a very natural direction here. So I'm hoping that it continues that run, because in the next chapter, from what I've seen, little bit that I've seen, it gets pretty spicy. And at the end of this chapter, meanwhile in Universe 6, Kaba gets his invitation to go train with Vegeta, and of course he is ecstatic, and you can see Vados right here looking delicious as always. The adventure begins with the Omni Kings, surprisingly, and they're both seemingly playing that one game they were playing in Dragon Ball Super, and they have called the Grand Priest there because they are wondering if Goku has realized that Kale has stole the Omni button, and the Grand Priest says no, he hasn't noticed yet. And the Omni Kings are not pleased. This is not good, this is not fun at all, and they should do something about it, and they want to intervene. So on Beerus' planet here, where Goku is training there, you remember from the last chapter, with not only Vegeta, but Kale, Kaba, and Caulifla, he is in the middle of sleeping when the Omni Kings come to him in his dreams and begin talking to him. Goku wakes up, but he's not really awake. He seems to be in a dreamscape. See? Alright, so anyway, he's in a dreamscape of some kind, and the Omni Kings are talking to him. Now, this is a very interesting concept. I really like this because it gives way more power and prestige, a lot of more bending abilities when it comes to reality and what they can do to the Omni Kings besides just destroying things. It shows that they are connected to the fabric of space-time. The fact that they can go into his dreams and talk to him there, like seemingly telepathically, it shows that they have a lot more powers that we just didn't get to see in the Dragon Ball Super anime / manga. And so they are asking him if he's awake. He's like, no, this is obviously a dream. And they are wondering why he hasn't come to play with them. And Goku answers honestly, he's not afraid of the Omni Kings. He answers that he's been stuck doing this training, this new training under Whis, which is, you know, training the two female Saiyans. Vegeta's obviously training Kaba, and he has this new mentor role. That is the reason that he hasn't been able to play. But the Omni King says that they've been watching Goku and they're just wondering when he's going to use the button to come and play with them. And it just gives an extra layer to that button, because from what I remember, the button only summons Zeno. It doesn't actually bring Goku to Zeno. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but if it doesn't do that in the anime, it does do that here, and it fleshes it out a little bit more, which is interesting. It gives Goku a conduit to go straight to them, which makes sense because they do want to play with Goku a lot. And Goku says, listen, I have a lot of stuff to do right now. I've been, you know, training all day, and I'm really tired, so unfortunately I can't come and play. But they say he's not training right now. He's not doing anything. Why don't you just come right now? And he's like, I've been training all day. I'm sleeping right now, and I need my rest. But it looks like the cuteness or perceived cuteness of the Omni Kings, I don't find them cute, they got through to Goku, and Goku's like, you know what, I guess I can just wake up for a few and go play with you guys for a little bit. But Goku quickly realizes that the Zeno button, it's gone. He's frantically looking around for it, trying to figure out where it went, and the Omni Kings already know. They say she has it, and he's like, who? And they show him her, Kale. You see Kale right there. And the other Omni King goes, is that a problem? Should we erase her? Yay, then we can play. And he shows Goku them erasing her, and it actually looks pretty tragic the way that they're showing it. Like, she's kind of just standing there. Goku is yelling, no, wait, don't do it. And you see her slowly disintegrate and disappear. Now, the erasure from the Omni Kings usually would mean that Kale couldn't come back short of the Super Dragon Balls, so she would be gone unless Goku got the Super Dragon Balls and wished her back. So this is a genuine threat against somebody that he's training, one of his pupils at this point. It is not clear how long he's been training them since the last chapter, but it does look like he's really worried about her and the fact that the Omni Kings are threatening to basically Hakai her. And the Omni Kings show him just that, her complete and utter disintegration. And you see right here that she is dead. And Goku cannot let this happen. He can't let her die. And it's not coming from a place of, oh, I love her. No, it's coming from a place that he is not wanting to let her die from the Omni Kings because, you know, he is training her. He is her master, and the fact that he's just a decent guy. I mean, you know her, and you're not gonna let her die about this. So he grabs the Omni King, which is crazy, whatever. He grabs the Omni King, he's like, no, don't do it. And they say, you should have paid more attention, which is true. Goku shouldn't have let himself get distracted, or at least have something stolen by Kale, which, honestly, Kale stealing the Omni King button, I don't see why she would have done it, but I do believe that she did because, you know, on planet Sadala, they're basically thugs and thieves and stuff, so that actually makes sense. Goku is genuinely a little bit upset with the Omni King that he knew that she took the button in the first place and, you know, he hadn't said anything. And the Omni King makes a fair point that she had it and they were just tired of waiting for him to figure out that she did have it. And then they say something really interesting here. They say, we wanted to warn you, not paying attention to important things like this is really bad, which they have a point. And so Goku wakes up right out of sleep and he begins looking in real life for the button all over the bed, waking up Vegeta. Vegeta has no idea what he's doing, and Goku knows that now Zeno was telling the truth. So as Kale sleeps, and okay, the art for Kale is just phenomenal. I just gotta say that. The art for Kale is A1. But as Kale sleeps, she is unaware that any of this is happening, and she has hidden the Zeno button in a safe spot. And that is when Goku yells, "You fool," and wakes Kale up with an explosion, smashing through the wall, yelling, "Where is it, Kale? The button, give it to me now." And Caulifla wakes up furious, like, what the hell? And Goku reiterates, he knows you have it, this is not a game. And that's when Goku starts shaking her awake. Where's the button? Where are you hiding it? And both Vegeta and Kappa, they're both looking through the hole, obviously like, this is unacceptable, kind of, because, you know, he's on top of Kale with his pajama bottoms on, basically, and she's in her underwear. And so Vegeta's like, this is crazy, and Goku is just adamant about where is the goddamn button because he is trying to save Kale's life. And Caulifla is upset, Kaba is upset, and Vegeta is upset, but Goku explains that the Omni King knows that you took the button. There are serious consequences. Where is it? And so he confronts Kale in the middle of the night, asking her where the button is because Zeno is angry. He is looking for it and he will kill her. And that is where we find out that Kale snuck into Goku's room, looked through his things, and took the button for herself. This button is Zeno's property and nobody is supposed to touch it besides Goku. And Caulifla at this point is fed up with the fact that Kale still has his button. Obviously she knew about it. And Goku says that this is not a regular trinket that she stole. If she keeps this, the Grand Priest and Zeno will wipe her off the face of existence. Goku pleads with Kale one final time, give me back the button, but Kale grabs his arm and pushes him off, telling him to get away. And Goku keeps urging, telling Kale, you do not understand what you're doing, but she yells, I don't care, and pushes him away, trying to get out of here, and he is trying to stop her, but she is in such a state at this point that she unintentionally transforms into her controlled berserker state. Goku tries to give chase, but Kale shoots a beam at him. He narrowly dodges it, yelling at her that she's a fool, and at that point, Kale is quick enough, hitting him dead in the center, and at this point, this knocks him back enough for Kale to get some distance and start flying off. She says that she will not surrender to him, and there's nothing he can do about it, so she flies away deep into space. There's nowhere for Kale to run at this point because she is flying into the dead of space, and even Goku says there's nothing out there, just a vacuum. You'll run out of air and you'll pass out, but Kale does not care, and this is where we find out why she took the Zeno button to begin with. She does not care if she takes this secret to her grave, if she ends up dying and passing off to Otherworld, because she is not going to give Goku back that button. The button only brings terror to all the multiverses. Any link between Goku and the Omni Kings could trigger something else catastrophic like the Tournament of Power, and she will not let it happen again. So her reasoning behind taking the button is what a lot of us in the Dragon Ball community have already discussed at length, that Goku is essentially responsible for speeding up the process of the Tournament of Power. Eventually the Grand Priest and Zeno would have held something to either delete all the universes that were of low mortal ranking or have them fight against each other, but because Goku was so eager to fight, he was so eager to participate in this tournament that Zeno said he wanted to see, well, this accelerated everything and put the entire multiverse at risk, and the only reason that they came back on top is because somebody wished for all the universes to be brought back with the Dragon Balls. So this honestly makes sense coming from Kale and her perspective. It actually does make sense that she wants to separate these two from interacting, because Goku could easily trigger something that would kill everybody in existence yet again. And I'll be honest, I commend Kale for her action here, for her crusade against Goku and taking away the Zeno button, even going as far as taking that secret to her grave. Goku's not quite sure exactly where Kale is going. She thinks that she is going to escape or get far away from Goku, but she is flying into space away from Beerus's planet, and that means that she is going to pass out because she is going to run out of air. Vegeta asks Goku if he's going to go after her, but Goku says she'll lose consciousness, and at that point she'll be easier to trap, she'll be easier to get a hold of, and he can bring her back to the planet. And even Caulifla at this point is like, Kale, you need to come back and give back what you stole. You're supposed to be the good one. I'm supposed to be the bad one. Why are you doing this? And I guess Kale didn't go over her plan or her reasoning why she stole the button in the first place. She probably just told Caulifla, hey, I stole the button. And Caulifla's like, classic. And that was probably it. That's probably the depth of their conversation. But it looks like Kale has a more righteous reason for doing this. But Kale has a plan, and first of all, this is my favorite panel, not only because Kale, but also because of the fact that we get to see exactly what she was doing and where she was going. She is going to the living moon. Now, the Beerus planet, we've seen a few orbital bodies around the Beerus planet, so it is quite possible that these are just regular moons, or these could be, as the manga suggests, livable moons with breathable atmospheres, and she is trying to get to one so she can escape Goku, which I feel like she forgot that Goku has instant transmission, because at this point in time, Goku can just use instant transmission to try to pick her up, but she doesn't think about that, and she's just flying off to that breathable moon. Again, going back to the artwork here, she looks phenomenal in her controlled berserker state. And we get a nice angle of her flying toward this breathable moon, trying to get there, using all her ki, all her power, holding her breath because she is in the vacuum of space right now. And everyone starts realizing that she is actually trying to escape to this moon, and she may survive. And Goku's like, this is going to be a pain in the ass, because now he's probably going to end up fighting her if she makes it to that moon. But Whis is skeptical, because he's like, it all depends if she can hold her breath long enough. She may not be able to, and she may just pass out right before she gets to that moon, and then Goku can come scoop her up, and then she's almost there. She's getting closer. She smashes through some debris and asteroids that are orbiting the moon, and then it looks like she trails off downward. The Omni Kings are amazed at how fast Kale is flying. They are watching everything unfold the entire time, time, and some would say that they're having a good time doing this. They might have even told Goku about it just to see exactly what the fallout was of Kale stealing the Omni King button and Goku desperately trying to save her life. And so all this drama, these little fucks, they're the ones, they initiated everything, and now they're watching the events. The Grand Priest says that Kale is aiming to go to the small planet that surrounds Beerus' planet. It's a small moon that is called the Living Moon. And the Omni Kings are surprised that the Saiyans can breathe in space, but they can't. And if Kale miscalculates how far it would take to get to the living world, she could actually run out of air. She is right now holding her breath through the vacuum of space. Will she make it? Let's find out. She has finally reached the atmosphere of the living moon, breaking right through it, and you can see the heat is warping its way all around her voluptuous body, and she is breaking right through it, about to land. But will she make it? Will she survive the trek to the surface? And boom, superhero landing. Kale has made it to the living moon, and everybody is surprised. Goku, Vegeta's sort of surprised, you can tell by his stance, and even Whis and Beerus are like, damn, you know, she actually made it. We thought she was going to become space fodder, but I guess now she can travel to other planets through space. She is looking more like Broly each and every chapter. And Caulifla is ecstatic. Obviously, Caulifla in this manga, she takes a back page to Kale because this manga is fully focused on fleshing Kale out as much as possible, even if it goes in a direction that, you know, a lot of people aren't going to be 100% used to. But yes, Caulifla is her cheering section, and Goku's just like, I knew she was fast, but I didn't know how far she could make it without air. And so now it is Goku's turn to go to the living moon, but he has a shortcut. Kale is surprised and ecstatic that she has made it to the living moon. So apparently she's been here before. That's how she knew that it was there, that they have been fighting battles on this moon. That way they don't destroy the Beerus planet in their training. So that makes sense that they've been on this moon before. But it seems like maybe in the other way that they've gotten to this moon, it was either through instant transmission or it was either through Whis' teleportation. So for her to fly from Beerus planet all the way to the moon is a feat of great importance, and she didn't even think that she could make it. But it is time to cheer, and we have here Chibi Kale, and she's just so happy that she actually did make it. She pushed beyond that wall, that uncertainty, and actually pushed beyond her limits and her lung capacity to be able to get to this planet. And she knows that Sis will be extremely proud of her, and of course Caulifla is. And you see the Zeno button right there, so I don't know if it's with her or falls off of her, or maybe this is just cartoony in the sense that it shows exactly, you know, what she's going through in her head. Not sure, but as she is celebrating, right behind her, Goku is there because he only has to use instant transmission, and that's the way that he shortcuts his way around the universe. And yeah, Kale is not happy. He's even like, Kale, did you forget about my instant transmission? You should know by now there's nowhere in the universe you can hide from me, silly girl. I don't think this line is something you would actually hear Goku say. And there's actually a lot of stuff that's kind of bending what Goku would say or his stances on things. This version of Goku is more like the DBZ version, but a little bit more serious. And so the silly girl part, honestly, he sounded like a villain. Just his whole line delivery sounds like a villain. Like, there's nowhere you can hide from me. Even if you broke through your wall to get to this planet and went flying through space, it don't matter. I can find you. I'll find you wherever you are. Man, that's creepy. Anyway, Kale is not happy to see him here. And Goku at this point, yes, it makes sense what he's saying here, just with the context of Dragon Ball Super, that he is beyond the level of so many characters that even in base form, and she's in her controlled berserker form, he's like, you know how this is gonna go. We can fight. I'm up for it. I love that shit. I breathe and brush my teeth to it. But if you want to go, let's go. It just shows how much of a badass he is, and would he be that way with Broly? I don't know. Broly kind of kicked his ass, so I don't know if this shows exactly the difference between Broly's power and Kale's power, and the fact that Goku is not really fazed by Kale that much. But Kale is certain that she is in the right, even though Goku is asking her for the button and not really giving her much of a choice at this point, because if she doesn't give him the button, he's just gonna beat it out of her apparently. But Kale can't trust Goku. She does not trust Goku at all. And Goku is like, that's basically the pot calling the kettle black, because you stole from me. Like, I was sleeping. I was having a good time. You stole from me. And she had to take it though, because of the fact that this is very dangerous in his hands. And Goku is skeptical if this button is safer in Kale's hands. Obviously it's not, because the Omni King is about to kill Kale for it. But she says yes, anything to keep you from starting another mess. And so Goku here looks like he knows kind of what she's hinting at. Everything that we've always talked about, how Goku started this tournament or whatever. And Kale confesses to Goku that she hates him. I hate you for pulling our universe into that battle, which is a tournament of power. So in this manga, she actually doesn't like Goku at all, not one bit, which is an interesting way to start off your Goku x Kale manga, but let's see where this goes. But one thing this manga is doing correctly, it's clearing up this misconception, because yes, Goku kind of ushered the tournament forward or faster than ever before, but at the same time though, the universes that had low mortal ranking were about to be destroyed anyway without a tournament, and Goku gave them a fighting chance. And that's exactly what he's telling Kale here, that it was because of him that they could even fight for the right to exist. But Kale would have rather let Universe 6 eventually perish than have to fight in that tournament where she was facing death in the face. She's not a battle-hardened maniac like Goku, who all he wants to do is fight. No, she's just a normal person essentially. Even though she's a Saiyan, she's normal and she just wants to live a normal life. But Goku does the right thing here. He apologizes for pulling her into that mess without her having any say-so, even though he wasn't the one that pulled it. But of course, just the way everything rumbled, everything went in that direction. And she asked, would you have done anything about it? Would you have saved all of us? And she asks him, what would you have wished for? And Goku's thinking, and then says, essentially, that he had no wish. The wish that he wanted was basically to fight the strongest opponent that there ever was, and Zeno with the tournament gave him that with Jiren. He fought Jiren, and that was the strongest character that we've seen, at least when it comes to mortals. And what he says is the tournament itself was his only wish, to fight every single strong opponent in most of the universes. That was basically what he wanted. So he wouldn't really have a wish of his own. If Goku had won, he would have actually given his wish away to Vegeta, because he already got his wish, and Vegeta would have brought Kaba and Universe 6 back, because that was a promise he made. And so Kale would have owed her life to Vegeta, not Goku. Goku says he's not the savior. And what Goku says here is very telling as to the way people have perceived Goku. So I don't pretend to play hero. That's not what I'm about. If not Vegeta, my wish would have gone to anyone, to 17, even Frieza. So he would have even given up the wish to Frieza, who would have just wished himself back. So Goku wasn't going to save anybody, and he doesn't want to be the savior, which is a huge confession to make to Kale. Like, it's humongous, because it has so many implications that Goku is not a hero that everybody sees him to be. Like, there's this huge distinct cut of Goku in the fandom where a lot of people see him as a hero like Superman, and the way he is basically written is not that way. And this brings both those concepts to a forefront and mixes them together, where Goku is telling her that no, I would not have done it. He would have given his wish away to 17 or Frieza. That's only fair because they're part of his team, and not all the wishes would go to him, and Kale's just staring at him with a icy death stare. Kale's confession is that she absolutely hates Goku for dragging her universe into the tournament of power. She sees him as a villain, and in the last chapter he was sort of acting like a villain. And Goku's confession is that he really wasn't gonna save Universe 6. He didn't have it in him to save it. If he was going to win the wish, he would have given it to either 17 or Frieza, or even Vegeta, who Vegeta would have brought back Universe 6, but to him it wouldn't have mattered. He got his wish by participating in the tournament, and he was being honest with Kale. Now, how does Kale take all this honesty? She loves it. She loves honesty, and she tells Goku as much, at least you're honest, and that's fine. And he says, I have no reason to lie, which is true. Goku is, one of the ones that wears his emotions and everything on his sleeve, except for when he was recruiting people for the Tournament of Power, and he had to lie to certain people about what the stakes were, but he was just withholding information in that scenario. So Goku asks her again, which he's asked her like several times at this point, can you please hand over the Zeno button? and Kale reaches out with her left hand, and there it is. I don't know where she was hiding it the whole time because she's in her like underwear right now, but hey, let's not ask any questions that we don't want to know the answers to. And so she's looking at it and she says, if I do, what will you do with it? And you see right here that she's thinking about the Omni Kings. And Goku, in a very Goku Black fashion, like, he probably could have answered this a lot better, and I feel like this was written in this way to start off this conflict. Obviously, we want to see them battle it out on this livable moon, but Goku could have been a little bit more courteous to her feelings, but Goku has also been one to be very blunt, so this is a very blunt statement. All I can say is that it's none of your business. Boom. He doesn't even have the button back yet, and he's like, it ain't none of your business what I'm about to do with this button here. And she already has trust issues already from the get-go for Goku, and now he's just completely verified all of them. You see the green lightning striking across Goku's face. That's obviously her snapping, and in her head she says, none of my business? Is that what you say to me? Nothing to ease my fears? So you would disregard all of this because it's none of my business? Basically, Goku says he don't give a shit about Kale. That's basically what he's saying. And this is where she snaps. Damn him, how dare he? Almost fell for it, that deceitful, stupid bastard. And she, of course, is losing control, goes into her green, more berserker, more wild and out stage, and in the blink of an eye, socks Goku square in the face. Goku did not see that coming and goes flying back, and Kale's like, you think you almost had me. And guys, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100, guys. Goku deserved this. He had this coming from the moment he broke through her wall, screaming about the button, when he could have probably, like, you know, walked over and be like, hey, let me get that button back. He wants to erase you, you know, I need that button back. He could have done it a lot better, but he amped up the situation from the very start. So yeah, this is the outcome. He got sucker punched right in the face. But that didn't faze Goku. He's like, that's cute. Alright, looks like we're doing this. And he instantaneously transforms into blue. And Kale is just with it. Look at this artwork. This is by far my favorite panel in this Dragon Ball fan manga. You see Kale with all her rippling muscles, looking just as evil as the old Broly and just as sadistic. She is ready to get some of that booty from Goku. And my bad. Alright. Okay, alright. I may cut this part out. I don't know yet. She is ready for Goku, and he jumps into high gear, coming right at her. And you see the Omni Kings. They're just ecstatic to see this shit go down. They did this just to see this fight, I guarantee it. And both these titans are about to face off in a huge battle on the living moon. And this is when the fight starts. Goku has a mission. He is going to put Kale down as fast as possible because there's no telling what Zeno is going to do. He could literally erase her right there and then, and Goku wouldn't be able to save Kale. And it's funny because he's doing all this to save her, so he comes right at her, full speed, rippling muscles, ready to take her on. And as Goku pulls up, I think he thought that Kale would dodge, but she doesn't. She literally just stands her ground. She's not going anywhere, and Goku ends up punching her a bunch of times, but this doesn't seem to have any effect. Kale swings back, Goku dodges, and Goku goes right around her blind spot, trying to get her from behind. I know, there's gonna be like a lot of puns in this. My bad. And he lands a precision shot right in her back. I'm assuming that Goku's probably going for her pressure point, similar to how Gogeta, when he was attacking Broly, he hit him in the very precise spots that was going to take him down the fastest. And once he does this, he ends up using instant transmission to get right in front of her, and as she flies forward, he kicks her again right in the gut, pushing her all the way back. Goku is just playing with Kale at this point. And as she flies back, Goku readies a Kamehameha blast, and he's trying to do what Gogeta was about to do to Broly, although short of killing Kale, I'm assuming, because that's the whole point of this, is to save Kale. Goku's Kamehameha blast hits Kale right in the chest, dead center. And Goku, I think, wanted to have something happen similar to when he hit, where he was about to hit Broly, or when he was hitting Broly as Gogeta, you know, just an ending type of blast that is going to completely nullify her and take her out of the match. But it looks like that isn't going to be happening here, because Kale holds the blast in her bare hands and she is just holding it like a basketball. And as Kale is distracted, getting pushed back by the Kamehameha wave, Goku uses instant transmission to hit her again from the back in her most vulnerable spots, similar to what he literally just did a second ago. And then he hits her again, a double whammy right in the back of the neck, trying to go for that knockout. And Kale is literally getting all that she asked for at this moment from Goku. This is my favorite panel in the manga. Enough said. And Goku is standing over Kale as she is eating dirt, and she is completely too slow in her berserk control form. She hasn't really mastered it, it seems, and at the same level, it just seems like it's not a very fast form. Like, it's not a form that is going to run circles around a Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Kale continues with the insult, saying that Goku has no class, and Goku really doesn't care what Kale says, because at the end of this, there's only going to be one outcome, and that is Goku defeating Kale. So at this point, Kale better just give up and give Goku the Zeno button. Whis is broadcasting the entire fight through his staff, and everybody is watching it, giving their own take. Caulifla is upset that the fact that Goku used the exact same move like multiple times on Kale, basically never giving her a chance to attack, and at the same time not really doing anything new. So there's not really a challenge in it, but they aren't really worried about challenges at this moment. But Vegeta plays game. He's like, well, to have a challenge, it really only applies to finishing moves, and it doesn't seem like this battle is at its end just yet. So basically, Goku can do whatever he wants throughout the fight as long as he doesn't use two of the same finishing moves in the exact same battle, which to me, it seems like they're talking about playing like Xenoverse 2 or something, where people just spam finishing moves and try to hit you with them all at the same time, and that's exactly what it seems like they're talking about. Goku tells Kale that she should turn back to her better controlled form. If you don't remember, she got kind of pissed off and let too much of that berserker rage out, so she got a little bit more uncontrollable and a little bit more bulky. If she went back to that original form she had at the beginning of this confrontation, she would probably have a better chance and be a little bit faster than her. And she's like got this smug look on her face because she knows that he is absolutely right. And Goku even pushes it a little bit further and says, unless you want to eat dirt all day, go back to that form. And Kale's like, why is he provoking me? Why? And she transforms back into her more controlled berserker state. But Kale's not finished with Goku just yet, and she tells him that he's not really a smooth talker, and Goku's like, you just said I have no class. I don't have class and I'm not a smooth talker. But even though Kale said Goku has no class, he's in a class of his own, and Goku making some corny ass dad jokes right there. And Kale, at this point, this is the part of the manga that we're finally getting into that Goku x Kale territory that we've been kind of like holding out for and waiting out for the last couple of chapters, because we get an insight into what Kale really thinks about Goku, and it is saucy. Since the Tournament of Power, Kale has had a crush on Goku, which makes sense because of the fact that she kind of completely went out of her way to tell Goku that she hates him, but it felt like it was forced. Of course, she probably is mad that he dragged her in this, but I think that there is a little bit of that love factor into this whole situation once she actually met Goku, and she just is attracted to strong, attractive men, apparently, and she thinks that Caulifla has some attraction to Goku as well. That's why Caulifla wanted to fight Goku so much. And with Goku giving Caulifla all that attention in their one-on-one, this actually pissed Kale off because she was a little bit jealous that Caulifla was so easily talking to Goku, and everything pissed her off about Goku. But at the same time, that was the last person that Kale wanted Caulifla to interact with. So basically what this manga is saying, that Kale wasn't pissed off that Goku and Caulifla were together in that fight and that's why she went berserk. No, she was more upset that Caulifla was talking to Goku because she actually had a thing for Goku. And Kale just wishes that she never met Goku and she wants things to go back to the way they were, because essentially this is like turning into a love triangle. Obviously Goku doesn't seem to have an affection for either of them, but both of them seem to have an affection for Goku, and that could break up their sisterhood very quickly. And Kale, still trying to play it cool, responds, "You're a class of fools," and Goku's like, "Maybe, but you're in a world of trouble." And that's when Kale completely talks about something that isn't even related to the fight, and she starts complaining that Goku actually ripped up her underwear, ripped up her entire outfit. The fact that she's out there not decent, she says that if Goku had a shirt, she would have asked him for one, and Goku says, "I can give you a pants leg, maybe that would help." But Goku says it doesn't really look like she cares that much about the way she looks. And Kale agrees, "I don't. You have a problem with that?" And Goku's like, "Of course not. Hell, you could be naked for all I care." And this is what sets off the chain of events that leads to Goku's demise, because Goku probably didn't mean what he was implying that way, and Kale is just shocked that he would even say it. So she starts laughing and she's like, "I can't stay mad at you when you make me laugh like that." And you see the entire peanut gallery here, they're all like, "What an idiot." And Caulifla is fired up. He better not even think about her being naked. And you see Beerus here twitching, like Beerus is not into this shit at all. Kale's laughing and Goku's like, let me rephrase that, going back to his normal state. But Kale takes everything to the next level and obliges, snapping off what's left of the clothes that she's wearing, to our boy Goku's utter shock. And Goku backs off real quick, with Kale looking at him with those eyes and Goku realizing that she's actually quite beautiful. Obviously you could tell that before this event happened, but yeah, Goku's finally starting to realize it. I mean, shocker there. And that is the end of today's chapter. Tomorrow we're gonna see if Goku can resist Kale's feminine wiles. The Grand Priest is going to intervene in this fight. Now remember, angels are not allowed to intervene in the affairs of mortals. That's breaking angel law. Now the reason that the Omni King looks different is because this is taking place in an alternate universe. This is something that I had to dig a little bit deeper into the Dragon Ball fan manga. In the description of this actual panel, this page, it says that this is a completely different alternate reality, alternate universe. That's why the Omni King looks a little bit different. And in this universe, the angels can interfere in mortal affairs. So the Grand Priest is getting ready to interfere, although he is withholding the ball because he does not want the Omni Kings to see Kale in all her splendor. Kale is slow walking toward Goku, and Goku is pleading with her to stop. "You're gonna get us both in a lot of trouble." And Kale's playing with him. "I thought you didn't care, or were you lying about that too?" And Goku here is just completely caught off guard with this situation. It looks like Kale finally has the one-up on Goku. Kale is egging Goku on. "Come on, take the button. It's right here. Go ahead and take it. You want it, right? I mean, you've been fighting me for chapters and chapters of this conflict because you want to get this button and save me. Come get it." Goku isn't going anywhere near Kale, but again, the Grand Priest is done with this conflict and the direction this conflict is going, so he is going to put an end to it, and he uses his divine will to start breaking a crack in the earth right behind Goku. Divine light of the Grand Priest, invisible to even Goku's senses, starts breaking the earth right behind Goku, as Goku is telling Kale that he can't take the button from her. She has to relinquish control of it willingly. It's not something that he can just take from her. She needs to give it to him. That's probably the reason why Goku's just been asking for it this entire time. And with the earth breaking behind Goku's feet, he falls right in, and this whole situation is put to an end. With Kale left to wonder where the hell this canyon came from, and she looks at Goku covered in dirt on his ass, and she starts laughing that he looks ridiculous. Basically, the Grand Priest cockblocked Goku at this point, but I mean, it's all for the greater good. We need to get this button away from Kale, or else Kale's life is still in danger. Happy-go-lucky Goku returns and he starts laughing, saying, "Yeah, that did hurt." And Kale's just laughing at the fact that, you know, he's the most powerful Saiyan in existence and yet he forgot how to fly momentarily. She finds that very funny, and Goku's like, go ahead and laugh, I'm a good sport about it, but I think it's time we call a truce, which is the name of this chapter of the Dragon Ball fan manga, Goku and Kale's Truce. Kale thinks about it and Goku continues with, I know we got off on the wrong foot, we got off on the wrong spot, I know you hate me and I'm not really quite sure what I did to make you hate me this much. And he's even thinking, could it just be the tournament or is there something more in there? And Goku's like, I'm not really a bad guy and if we work at it together we could actually become pretty good friends. Obviously Goku isn't a bad guy, we know that from just watching him for years, plus in this instant he's just trying to save Kale's life from getting completely erased. And this is when Kale is a little bit real with Goku, because I feel like he should have heard this from not only Chi-Chi, Bulma, Gohan, hell, Goten, shit, Vegeta. He probably should have heard these words a long time ago. I don't hate you, I wish you'd be a little bit more mindful of others is all. And Goku's like, fair enough, it kind of got through to him that he doesn't really think about anybody else besides himself, essentially. Yeah, when, you know, the world is in trouble and he needs to save people, yeah, he becomes a hero for the most part, but when it comes to wanting to fight, especially in Dragon Ball Super, he's looking out for only himself, only his own gratification, and that's part of what is flawed about his character, at least in Dragon Ball Super. And he understands that she's not comfortable with the button being around him, and no mortal should probably have such a thing. He understands that. So Goku's like, let's go ahead and just get it out of here and give it back to Zeno himself. It's like Kale wasn't even aware that was an option. Like, how are we gonna do that? It's very simple. Just leave it behind and he'll take it back. The Zeno button is a magical item. It seems to have a mind of its own. Sometimes when Goku really needs it and it's in his pocket, even on clothes he hasn't worn in a long time, and sometimes it disappears. So he doesn't really take it anywhere with him because he knows that it'll just show up or disappear whenever it wants to. So it's almost like the button is a living thing. I'm shocked at the fact that this whole fan manga, at least this part, the first arc, is just wrapped around this button that I completely forgot about since Dragon Ball Super's Goku Black arc, really. So it's a very interesting take. I definitely like this. Kale says Goku's making sense and then asks him for a promise. Will you promise if I were to leave it here, you won't come back to take it? So she's trying to get a promise from Goku, which I don't know if any character in Dragon Ball has ever asked Goku to make a promise, or Goku has made a promise to anybody in Dragon Ball that I can think of off the top of my head. But if you can think of it, let me know in the comment section below just to remind me and remind everybody here, because I would like to hear some of the promises Goku has made over the years. But even though this is a Dragon Ball fan manga, it is nice to see Goku like being a little bit more mature and making a promise to another person like this. Goku, of course, has the wrong answer for everything. He says, anyways, it ain't my fault if it follows me. I mean, yeah, she's supposed to hand over the Omni King button. He can't take it, obviously, but if it follows him around, I mean, he can't do anything about that. And Kale's like, that wasn't a yes, you completely deflected the question. And of course Goku's like, at that point he's like, yes, okay, fine, I promise I won't take it. Which, in my opinion, this is another level of Goku that really cements the fact that this is a Goku x Kale Dragon Ball fan manga, and it's definitely going in that direction. And it is a believable step into what I can only assume is going to be their sort of infatuation here later on in the series. Goku's like, we cool? And Kale looks at the button and she doesn't seem certain if, you know, she should give it back. But Goku makes the best argument here. She is not giving up the button, and so that means the Omni King is going to erase her. Once she gets erased, Goku will do anything to get her back because that is his student. So that means that the only way he can get her back is the Super Dragon Balls. How do you get the Super Dragon Balls? I mean, he can't lug them around, and Whis and Beerus probably won't help. So the only way to do that is to make another tournament so he could win the Dragon Balls again. So Kale's nightmare is to have another tournament, but with her death, another tournament is inevitable. It's gonna happen. And that's something that I didn't think about. That's something that Kale probably didn't think about. Basically, she would be making her own worst nightmare come true. That is the moment that Kale's like, forget this, and throws it into the canyon that just formed, giving up the button voluntarily. And the button on command ends up warping out of there, disassembling itself, and going back to Zeno. We begin a dream sequence. This is technically the dreamscape. Kale is dreaming about what happened in the last arc. But first, she looks back at the Tournament of Power, at how chaotic it was, how awful it was. I guess we never really stopped to think exactly what the mental state of the warriors that were fighting in the Tournament of Power actually was. I mean, if they weren't true blue fighters, they weren't like craving the hunt, the kill, like Goku, Vegeta, and the Saiyans, even Frieza, then this place could have been very, very scary, and the nerves and anxiety would be through the roof, because you are fighting for not only your life, but the lives of your friends and family back home. So it makes sense that this would be a very traumatic experience, and if Kale is the one that blames Goku for it, then it makes sense why their conflict started in the last chapter to begin with. And she even thinks back at her emotions as to when she transforms into the Berserker state. She thinks about what she's going through, what her head is going through, and how everything happens so fast. And here we get a clip of Goku telling her that she needs to control her emotions. That's the first step. Remember, Goku is her master in this Dragon Ball fan manga. But as the dream continues, it gets a little bit more saucy, because as we see here, we have Kale taking a bath in what looks to be an oasis of some kind. Very beautiful, and there is even a Dragon Ball there that isn't the Dragon Ball that we know, but I think it's just there for added effect. Goku glances at her where she doesn't even notice him at first, and then steps forward to say hi, continuing with, "Don't think for a moment I've forgotten about what you did on the moon." And she's nervous, scared, I don't know. I think this is kind of one of those dreams that, you know, you really don't want to wake up from, and she's thinking about Goku in this way, and this is feeding into her infatuation with the strongest Saiyan from Universe 7. As he wades into the pool himself, he hands her over the Dragon Ball. And that's when Kale wakes up out of her bed. It looks like she made it back to Beerus's planet, and she's thinking about how everything happened, how she was being so bold, you know, to do the things she did in the last chapter, and how she thought that Goku would straight up take the device from her. I mean, he was strong enough to do that, but he didn't. He let her hand it over, and it went back to the Omni King. Like, he didn't want it. He's not power hungry, which is weird. She thought that he was, and she's thinking that he's really strange and really silly. And that's when the door opens up, and Caulifla comes bursting in there, asking Kale to spill the beans. What did Goku say? What did he do to you? What were you thinking? Tell me everything. It looks like they haven't gotten a chance to catch up. And then Kale thinks back as to what exactly happened at the end of the last arc. And she thinks back and remembers that Goku was there asking if she was okay. She is back in her normal state, not in Berserk or anything like that. And Kale's just standing there. They're both still on the living moon, and she's conflicted because Goku actually scares her, but he's like so nice. So how can he be both? Because Goku is really, really nice, really, really gentle, but he's also a straight up monster when it comes in terms of power and abilities. And that's when Goku rips up his pants and covers up Kale to make her decent, which is something that Goku would honestly do. Very, very nice, very, very considerate, and not creepy in any way. And this is interesting. Kale's thinking about Goku and the consequences of what he unleashed when it comes to the Tournament of Power. Now, if the universes were all erased, there'd be no sort of thinking about it, but now that everyone's back to normal, there are consequences for Kale in Universe 6. So this is when we start getting into some heavy lore for Kale, and it's something that we've seen before in another Dragon Ball fan manga by J Hearts, where Kale is actually royalty. She is from a royal bloodline from the first queen of planet Sadala, who was in fact a Super Saiyan. Apparently, the royals have known about the Saiyans turning into Super Saiyans for quite some time, but have held that information to themselves. And the reason for that is because they don't see any advantage in the Super Saiyan transformation, because all they know of it is that if you become too powerful, then you will explode and die, and that's exactly what happened to the Queen Gardain of this planet Sadala Saiyans. Now that Universe 6 knows about the Super Saiyan legend, everybody knows because they were watching the tournament, they saw everything that was going on. New laws have been passed to arrest and subjugate or execute anyone who transforms into a Saiyan on planet Sadala, because if they go to Berserk, they could kill a lot of people. They could kill a lot of Saiyans, or they could explode and kill a lot of Saiyans in a major city. So it is dangerous to become a Super Saiyan. Of course, if they only think of Super Saiyan as a Berserker, which is what Queen Gardain was, which is the ancestor of Kale, then yeah, I would see why they would think that this is a dangerous form that could actually kill a lot of people, innocent people. So when Kale, Kaba, and Caulifla, who are the only Saiyans that can turn to Super Saiyans, go back to planet Sadala, they could be tried, they could be arrested, and they could possibly be executed because they can turn into Super Saiyans and not be trusted. And that's what Kale is thinking about as Goku flies her back to Beerus's planet and puts her back into her room. And Kale, looking down at Goku, says, but at the same time, maybe I don't want to go back. So she's having second thoughts of even going back to Universe 6, and maybe wants to stick around so she can hang out with Goku a little bit more. I mean, in this manga, she is Goku's protege. She is Goku's student, so it makes sense for her to hang out with Goku as often as possible. Goku leaves Kale because he's got to go apologize to Beerus for all the commotion and everything that happened, but Goku isn't holding any ill will against Kale for taking the button, for stealing, anything like that. He doesn't really care about that stuff, and that's something that Kale really admires about Goku. And it makes sense, honestly. This ship makes more sense than Goku x Caulifla, even though I like to see that too. But Goku x Kale makes sense because Kale is so into Caulifla. Caulifla is kind of like a female Goku, so that all really fits into place. And so after that, everything goes back to normal, and we see here that there was no repercussions for Kale, Goku, or anybody for what happened. And you see the sunrise on Beerus's planet, and this tree that in pictures, especially in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, you see this tree with a lot of houses and stuff on it, and I always wondered who actually lived there, but it probably is empty, and right now the only people that are living there are, you know, Goku, Vegeta, Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla, because they're all training there. And so when Kale wakes up that morning, she hears a loud clash happening outside her window. She wakes to feel Goku's energy coming from outside, and she's not surprised that he's training because, you know, Goku never seems to stop. She walks by Caulifla, noticing that she's still asleep, looks out the window and sees that Goku is in Super Saiyan God training against Whis. And Kale wonders if he will ever be satisfied with the power that he's earned. As Kale watches Goku in Super Saiyan God versus Whis right outside her window, which in my opinion, that would be such a dope thing to see outside your window, she starts thinking about how Goku never lectured her about everything that went on in the last arc, which was her stealing the Omni King button and then fighting against him, and, you know, she said that she hated him, all that stuff. Goku never mentioned it or never brought up a word, which makes sense. Goku really doesn't like to think about things too long or too deeply, and he doesn't really like to dwell on stuff. He likes to just kind of keep going forward and keep moving forward, and that's kind of weird for Kale because she thought that there was a lecture coming in it after all of it was over. It seems like specifically with this issue, he did not lecture her, because when they first started training, Kale seems to not have been the best student, and he wasn't listening to anything Goku had to say, because of course she blamed him for the Tournament of Power. So Goku actually threatened her. He said, I mean, if you are not going to cooperate, you can just pack up your shit and go home, which is just fucking badass Goku right there. It seems essentially that Kale really didn't want to go to Beerus's planet. She didn't really want to go to Universe 7. She didn't really want to be trained by Goku. She doesn't like Goku. She wants to just train with Caulifla and have it just be the two of them without him. And now she is essentially the student to a man that she's got all these conflicting feelings for, and she doesn't like it. So at the time before their climactic battle in the last chapter, last arc, before all that, when they were training, she was just being very, very disruptive and not really, you know, being beneficial to the training process. So that's why Goku threatened her to go home. But it seems like she may have a change of heart now, seeing as how she's really seen the bright side of Goku, the good side, and that probably goes a long way as to how she is going to treat him in the future. She thinks back on a conversation she had with Caulifla, where Caulifla thinks it's insulting that Goku is holding back on both of them, even though he's seen what they can do in the Tournament of Power. So Kale is going to investigate Goku's power now that she is basically awakened by his loud explosions and the energy and everything. She can't go back to sleep, and she might as well go check it out and get more information on this Saiyan and his fighting capabilities. She justifies this to herself by saying that Champa wants them to be stronger and get stronger, and if Goku's holding out on them, then, you know, she needs to investigate and get stronger. Plus, at the same time, Champa wants the Universe 6 Saiyans to be the same as the Universe 7 Saiyans. And she's come to the realization that they're not going to learn to be that powerful just by simple normal training on its own. And so she needs to go a little bit more beyond that. And here is probably the most interesting thing that I've heard in a while, because it really just brings up so many questions about why they would come to this conclusion. But here she says, Goku and Vegeta already said they won't show us how to become gods. But why? That's the question that I ask myself. Why wouldn't Goku and Vegeta, both of them, have made it clear that they're not going to show the next generation of Saiyans to become Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue? They're not going to teach them that stuff. Now, the only thing that I can think of, because I don't think that it's coming from a malicious standpoint that either Whis or Beerus told them not to do it. I don't think that it's that case. Although I do see Beerus telling Goku, like, don't teach him that because I don't want my brother to have, you know, gods of his own. I can see that, but Goku's not going to go along with that. So she makes it clear that it's Goku and Vegeta's, it's them saying it. So the only thing that I can think of is that I don't see them holding back because they're selfish. They don't want them to be as strong as the 7 Saiyans. But I think that what is going on here is that Goku and Vegeta want to train them not in God first. So that way they get a taste of all the other powers, 2, 3, and so on, Kaioken, different abilities, what we're seeing in the Goku Trains Caulifla manga, things like that. They want to kind of teach them step by step, go up a ladder and get to the next level, level by level, and then eventually they're going to, you know, do the Super Saiyan God ritual and see if that works the same way for Universe 6 Saiyans, and that way they can become gods as well. Because if they become gods right now, where they're barely trained, Kale doesn't really have control over her emotions and stuff, it could be very, very dangerous for not only Universe 6, but Universe 7 as well. So they want them to get trained up and be 100% before they train them into that God level. That's what I think that Goku and Vegeta are saying. So I think that they're saying that they're not going to train them on that stuff now, but in the future they will. But Kale's right. It's not fair for them to have such an advantage over them when it comes to powers. The God powers completely outclass the Saiyan powers. And as Kale looks over the hedges, she sees both of them fighting, and it looks just so damn cool. And this is where she goes into full-on fangirl mode, and I feel like a lot of this is the creator of this Dragon Ball fan manga, Kaleverse, talking through Kale, like she loves the transformation of God, and you know how Ultra Instinct has silver eyes and looks really, really cool and really hot, things like that. I think that this whole panel is just projection here from the creator, Kaleverse. That's just my opinion, but you know, Kale's got a trunk though, just letting you know if you didn't see it before. Anyway, Goku is attacking Whis with everything he has, and he's really trying to get in on him because they are training, which is cool to see Goku train in Super Saiyan God, and they're trying to push that level up the next ranking, because I always thought God had a lot of potential. But in that split second, he feels Kale's ki, he feels Kale's presence, and he looks away from Whis, dropping his guard, and that's not a good sign around Whis. And he uses his staff. I love this whole panel right here. I think this is my favorite panel in this whole chapter here, because I like Goku's face, how it just looks really silly, and he gets electrocuted by the staff. I think the fact that Whis is a martial artist is really cool. I think that he should use his staff more, because he could use it as a martial arts weapon. I think that would be really cool. And the staff does have a lot of power, so I definitely like that he used it here, and he completely electrocutes Goku, shooting him into some bedrock, and Kale realizes that she's the reason that this happened. See, this is the reason that Goku won't teach you Super Saiyan God, you silly girl. And Goku's just a good sport coming out of the rubble, you know, he's like, that hurt. And of course, Whis is like, you can't have any distractions. Distractions are bad for you. Goku goes back to his base form. It looks like this last attack from Whis really took the wind out of him. And that's when Kale begins to apologize about everything. She did not mean to interrupt the fight. She was just looking over and seeing exactly what was going on. And Whis is like, you know what? The fact that you're here, this actually gives me an idea. And he asks Kale to come over. And of course, every time we've seen Kale so far, she's like in her underwear or her bedtime spandex. And I'm not complaining here, I'm just saying, it's just an observation that that's usually how Kale has been dressed in this Dragon Ball fan manga. And so she walks over and Whis makes a barrier around their whole surrounding area. And this has Goku intrigued. They're trapped in this barrier. What is going on, Whis? What is the agenda? And Whis has an idea because, you know, there's a guest here. He's going to spice things up a little bit, and Goku and Kale stare at each other intently. So what Whis says is he's going to crank things up a bit and attack Goku probably stronger than what he was attacking him before. That's probably why he put up the barrier. And in the meantime, Kale isn't going to be addressed by those attacks, but she is going to have to, as an innocent bystander, try to evade and stay out of harm's way, basically pushing Goku to defend Kale against Whis, which is just such good writing. I like this whole situation. Personally, for me, I love this shipping, and I love this story. But I like these situations that are forced upon the characters where, you know, now Goku has to protect Kale. I like that kind of thing. Goku says that she's not ready, but Whis is like, I'm going to spice things up anyway, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And to make things a little bit more fun, I'm going to have this flag. If you guys get the flag, the match is over. Basically, he is Kakashi, and Goku and Kale are Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. And that is their bells they have to get, because that is the only way that they're going to survive the Whis onslaught. Whis is about to prepare the attack, and Goku's like, don't worry, Kale, we got this, we can do this. And he's just so confident that this is going to end well, and I don't think that it's going to end as well as he thinks it is, or as easy as he thinks it is. Kale right now is regretting going to investigate the fight between Whis and Super Saiyan God Goku, because now Whis has brought her into the situation and has created a huge barrier around their immediate area, so that way Goku can repel the Whis onslaught and protect Kale at the same time. Think of this as some hero training straight out of My Hero Academia, and that is exactly what Whis has set up. And Kale isn't ready for this level of a fight. She can't even go into the god forms, and she talked about that in the last chapter, that Goku and Vegeta have decided not to show them the god form, so she is at a huge disadvantage. But let's see exactly how she does in this matchup. And as the fight starts, she is completely freaking out, and Goku tells her, just remember your training and fight if you have to, and if not, just stay out of my way. Of course, Goku would say something like that because Goku is trying to get Whis all to himself, so he's excited for this training, and Kale is absolutely not. But all they have to do is capture the flag to end the match, and Whis is going to make that damn near impossible because he is hyper aware of exactly where that flag is and how to keep it away from the Saiyans. Whis attacks Goku with a powerful elbow where Goku was even barely able to block this. The shockwave seems to be bouncing Kale away like a pinball. Whis responds with a flurry of attacks, and each attack is so devastating and so strong that the shockwaves on their own are just way too much for Kale to handle. It looks like she can't even keep her eyes open. It makes sense now why Whis put that barrier up, because he wanted to go a little bit plus ultra here in this matchup. And really, Goku's the only one that could take this sort of fight. He is not only successfully blocking all of Whis' blows, but he is dodging the angel as well, and he's only in Super Saiyan God. He sidesteps Whis and then goes for his head, but Whis just easily dodges it. And he says, listen, you're still too slow, even in that god form. Why don't you just, transform into Ultra Instinct, because that would make this fight a lot better and a lot more fair. And Goku's like, if I am doing this good against you, then I must be doing something right in this form. And Whis agrees, yes, exceptionally better than most. Let's see how long you can keep that up. And Goku goads Whis. He says, come on, I know you're not using the limit of how much power you can use on a mortal. I know you got a little bit left in you. Let's go. I'm barely getting warmed up in this. And Whis takes it up a notch. Goku is focused on Whis. He is focused on the match. He's focused on the fight at hand. And right now he wants to see exactly how far he can push Whis and how far he can push his own body. And as Whis begins to go plus ultra, Goku's like, if I didn't know any better, I would say you're enjoying this. And Whis is like, of course, you Saiyans are not the only ones that enjoy sparring now and then. And Goku goes for the kick on Whis because Whis was hovering right above him. It doesn't look like the kick connected. It looks like Whis was able to dodge out of the way again. And this blow, this evasive blow, is enough to knock Kale back again. And Goku finally realizes the point of this exercise. He's looking behind him. He's like, wait a minute. Kale's back there. Hopefully she's doing okay. And that is when he finally realizes that Kale cannot stand being in this barrier. The fight between Whis and Goku amping it up, not even thinking about Kale, he basically signed her death sentence here because the vibrations, the blows, everything is too much for Kale's body in her normal state, probably even in her berserker state, and she's just getting hit with all the shock waves. She can't sense God energy, let alone angel energy. She has no right to be here, and Goku doesn't know what Whis was thinking. And that's when Goku realizes that Kale is in a world of trouble just from the shock waves alone from the God form and the angel. And he tells Kale to stay down, but you shouldn't take your eyes off Whis. Kale's on the ground and the immense pressure is crushing her and barely letting her lift a finger, and as Whis is just attacking Goku with another flurry of fists, obviously you can tell with the hearts behind him, he is in love with this battle. Goku is pleading with him to let Kale go. She has no right to be here. She can't stand being in this barrier, and as he pleads with Whis is just continually attacking him, and he's trying to get Ultra Instinct out of Goku, but all he gets is Super Saiyan Blue, to Whis' disappointment. And I just love the power scaling here and the fact that Goku basically failed to save Kale here because he was pushing Whis to go even further, even though Kale couldn't even stand it and he wasn't even thinking about her. So that's just another standard case of Goku only thinking about himself, but it was done in such a natural way in this chapter that it doesn't seem like he went out of character to do it. The fact that he realized that she couldn't stand being in there also is a really good touch because now he's just trying to protect her. But he does go into Super Saiyan Blue, and it's cool to see that a person or a Saiyan, someone that doesn't have the God forms, can't sense them, can't do anything like that, how outclassed they are against the Super Saiyan God energy and ki, just completely useless in this scenario and could actually get seriously injured just by being in this bubble. And that's when Kale realizes that the flag actually has been hovering right above her the entire time. And even though Whis wants Goku to go into Ultra Instinct, Goku says, still too soon for that. And Kale is glowing in her Berserker Rage, so she's probably going to transform here to try to get that flag. Once they get that flag, the match is over, and maybe Whis put that flag right above her because he realizes that, she could get seriously injured and could possibly, get mortally injured being in this barrier, so he put it right above her to end the match. I don't know. The shockwaves have finally stopped, and Kale has realized that the fighting didn't die down. Goku has turned into a Super Saiyan Blue and fought Whis, but the reason that he did this is so that way he can better manage his power, and at the same time Whis seems to be dialing down the shockwaves because Kale's there. So it looks like Whis isn't going all out trying to, unintentionally kill Kale. He's trying to just train both of them together, and that's exactly what he's pulling off. And for Kale, it's extremely hard to realize exactly what's going on because at this point in time she can't even see Goku and Whis, let alone sense them. So she is at a complete disadvantage, and she is essentially a sitting duck. But she got a dump truck though, just letting you guys know, reminding you guys. Anyway, she transforms into her perfected or controlled berserker state, and she is determined to capture this flag by any means necessary. So she went into her most powerful form, that way she can withstand being in this barrier. But even though Kale does not know what is going on with the fight between Goku and Whis, Goku is well aware of everything that's going on around him, and he sees that Kale has transformed, but he is a little bit worried that she is going to jump right into this fight. Even in her controlled berserker state, she is no match for Whis or Super Saiyan Blue Goku, for the matter of fact. So yeah, he is worried, but then he realizes she is actually focused on the flag. And that's when Goku scatters energy from his body in all directions. These ki balls all over the place, and they surround Kale. And from these ki balls, they talk to Kale. So I wanted just to take a moment and talk to you guys about why I love Dragon Ball fan mangas, fan fiction, and fan animations, and what makes a really, really good one. And for me, it's both these things in tandem that works so well with a lot of synergy that make a really memorable story. Like, you guys have really enjoyed this story because of events like this. When a Dragon Ball story, a fan-made story, builds upon things that happen in the anime that we have no explanation of, nothing added to it, because Dragon Ball is one of those animes that really doesn't explain a whole lot, so it is prime Dragon Ball fan-made fodder. It is great for telling your own stories. And so, if you guys remember when Goku was skating on the Ki Blast in the Tournament of Power when he was in UI, this is exactly the technique that he's using. These balls are physical manifestations, but they have an added twist made by Kaleverse. He can communicate telepathically through his own ki, through these balls, so that way he can tell Kale what to do. That's something that we've never, ever seen in Dragon Ball anime or Dragon Ball fan fiction. And I just have to applaud, because that is fucking awesome. Let's continue. Kale realizes instantly what this technique actually is, and it is shown here in a flashback that after the tournament's end, Vados actually shows them exactly how Goku won and how he went into Mastered Ultra Instinct against Jiren. Basically, she showed them the ending of Dragon Ball Super, and so they are extremely excited to see it. They think it's really, really cool, and even Hit's like not surprised at all as to what Goku ended up doing and how he ended up defeating Jiren. So not only does Goku use these balls to talk to Kale, he also uses them to maneuver Kale around the battlefield away from Whis' energy. So they're basically protecting her and giving her a guiding light, Rudolph's nose, a lighthouse, to where the flag is and away from Whis' energy, so that way not only can Whis not really see Kale or at least have a blind spot toward her, but also she doesn't get influenced by the shockwaves, and that's exactly what she's doing here. She's skating on top of Goku's ki. And Kale also remembers that Goku used this technique on her and Caulifla when they refused into Kefla, when they were trying to ring out Goku, their last ditch effort. Goku went around, used the same technique, slid on her Ki Blast, and then hit her with the Kamehameha Blast. So she's extremely impressed with Goku, his ingenuity, and it makes sense. Goku kind of just thinks on the fly and does whatever, and that's something that any Dragon Ball character should aspire to do. But she's almost there to the flag, and she's right up on it. And at this point now, the frenzy of Whis' energy is getting more intense, and Whis actually notices that Kale is getting closer and closer to the flag, and so I don't know if he's going to disappear the flag and, you know, make it harder for her or whatever, but she's almost there, and she's getting closer and closer. And it looks like Whis is not going to be a dick and interrupt, because Kale grabs onto the flag and Whis does nothing about it. He just lets her grab it, and that is the end of the match. And once the match is over, Whis is just really happy that, you know, this went off without a hitch. two Saiyans from different universes worked in tandem as a team, as one, and it's just something to behold. And Goku is happy that Kale kind of, worked really easily with him, and they had really good synergy and a really good relationship because, easily Kale could have just attacked Whis and that would have not been the right call, but instead Kale did exactly what Goku wanted her to and go for the flag. And of course, Kale isn't up for unnecessary challenges, and Goku's like, oh, well, you sure know how to present them, talking about her berserker state. Whis laughs this off and says that this is basically the end of the activities for today unless Goku has any more ideas, and it seems like Goku is tuckered out as well. He's like, no, I ain't got nothing else, and so Whis ends up leaving them alone. Now, while Goku and Kale are alone, the sunrise is coming up, and Kale apologizes for interrupting the training, but Goku says, you're here to train, and the best training is the one that's unexpected, an unexpected challenge, so, you did the right thing. Kale's worried and has anxiety over the fact that she thinks that Whis is upset about the situation that happened in the first arc, where she stole the Zeno button. Goku tells her that Whis isn't like that. Whis really doesn't care about the whole situation. Even if they both got erased, Whis wouldn't care at all, so that's just the way that he is. And Kale's like, I guess angels really aren't benevolent like you hear about, and she asks Goku if he thinks that there might be some angels out there that actually care about things, care about mortals. Goku's like, yeah, the universe is a big place. I'm sure there's an angel out there or two that care about something more than just food. And that's when Goku's stomach rumbles. So it seems like the training worked up an appetite, and Goku asks Kale if she's hungry. And that takes us to the current chapter. We are finally caught up, and it looks like Goku and Kale are going on their first date. The first thing that Goku does is cement them being in the beach attire. So Goku ends up taking off his shirt, implying that, he wants to feel the ocean breeze on his upper torso, all that stuff. And Kale's like, I'm not taking my top off. At least not this time, because remember, in earlier chapters that ended up happening. So Kale's worried that the fact that they didn't bring Caulifla may make her mad because Caulifla would like to go with them to go eat or something like that. And she's trying to bring like another friend in this, even though she's the one that has a crush on Goku. And Goku's like, I mean, she wasn't with us at the time and she did train a lot earlier. So, she probably is really tired and you wouldn't want to wake her up. So let's go ahead and get some grub. Let's go ahead and get some food. It's right over there. Guys. Okay, guys. Alright, let's keep going. They hit up the ramen spot and they meet Mr. Fu. And Mr. Fu sees Goku and says, hey, you brought some friends. And he's like, yup, this is Whis again, and she's my student, Kale. And Mr. Fu knows there's something up because he goes, of course, hello, student, huh? Like he's laughing it off like he thinks it's funny. And so, in my opinion, Mr. Fu knows what's going on. And maybe this isn't the first time that Goku's brought somebody to this spot. I don't think he's brought Chi-Chi here. So in this Dragon Ball fan manga, Goku be wildin'. I think Goku is trifling in this Dragon Ball fan manga, at least in this chapter. Like, you see how it gets here in a little bit. Now they have to wait for the ramen to be ready. It takes about an hour so they can enjoy the beach and enjoy the climate and everything like that. So Goku takes Kale to his favorite spot, tells her all about it, how they catch the freshest seafood there and everything, everything's meant for the fishermen, but this ramen shop is able to use some of that, only a little bit, for only select guests. So don't spread it around that there's this spot here. Don't tell anybody else about it besides, Whis. Don't even tell Beerus. And this is the one part that's the most telling. Goku says do not tell Bulma either, because we're not trying to get these people in trouble or get more people to come here, because most of this food is for the fishermen. That's kind of the excuse he's saying. But guys, he says, I understand the Beerus part because Beerus is going to come and try to eat here all the time, even though Whis is kind of the same thing as Beerus. But he says Bulma. Okay, why wouldn't you tell Bulma? Like, that's so random that he would even say that, because I didn't think that Kale even knew who Bulma was. So, like, now I'm thinking that Kale has met Bulma before, and Bulma is real close friends with Chi-Chi, so don't tell Bulma about my secret spot, don't tell her about my secret dating spot, because, she may go ahead and tell Chi-Chi, and that's not going to be good for anybody. That's essentially what I'm getting here, guys. This is a very This is very funny, honestly. Alright, so this is where things start getting real sketchy here, and that's with Goku. He pushes Kale into a bathing suit, and so he says it's kind of like the code, like you have to wear a bathing suit on the beach. So I mean, that's fine or whatever. And Goku says that, you know, she was calling him Master Goku, and he's like, nah, just call me regular Goku. You don't have to be so formal. But she's a little apprehensive about being in a bikini because it doesn't seem like she's ever been in one. And Goku's like, I mean, it wasn't like the other day you were, you know, topless. So, you know, I don't know what you're getting so bent out of shape for. And she yells at him, says that it was because we were in a fight, which is completely different. This is like a normal situation. This is just normal life. That was an actual battle. And I think that the Super Saiyan or Berserk version of Kale is just more confident than the base form version, so that's probably why it didn't, you know, matter so much to her at the time. But yeah, Goku's just kind of like, you know, it just seems like he's pulling all the moves, you know. But he points at a girl that's wearing this sort of shawl that's covering, you know, her bottom half, which is a normal thing that, I mean, my wife has one. So he says, why don't you just wear one of those? And Kale's like, all right. So actually the one that she picks out, the outfit that Kale's wearing in this is complete fire. Like this, I could see my wife, I could see BlackScape wearing this. Black and orange, it looks like black with orange flames, looks pretty damn cool. And she asks him, aren't you gonna be wearing something? And he goes, you think I look good in a bikini? Like flirting around with her. He's absolutely flirting in this. But obviously he's joking, so he ends up going into some swim trunks and they end up walking the beach. That's when they meet up with Whis, who is wearing a bathing suit also, but he's got an ice cream cocktail, and Kale really wants one. And this is where we find out that Kale's actually 21. And since this is the only time that's ever mentioned what age she is, again, Saiyan women are built small, I think that this is dead on the money. She's definitely at least 21 years old, if not more. And they walk the beach, beginning to talk about the Tournament of Power again. Kale's curious as to, you know, if Goku was 100% serious about not wishing everybody back, about giving away the wish. And Goku had already come to terms with himself that people were going to be erased, that there was nothing he could do about it. And he was surprised that the Omni Kings decided to, you know, bring everybody back, let that wish stand. He didn't think that there was a chance that if he was to wish all the universes back, that they would honor that wish, seeing as how that would, you know, negate the whole tournament in the first place. But the Omni Kings ended up doing it, and that was great. But Kale would have preferred all the warriors to end up being erased, and that's because she was completely overwhelmed with them. A lot of them were really scary and intimidating, and they ended up ganging up on her. I don't know if you guys remember, but they ended up just working a tune on her, and so she didn't mind if they ended up just getting erased, honestly, by the end of it. Kale just wished that they actually had more prep time before going into the Tournament of Power, ultimately like having a year or so to train, or enough time for them to find somebody else. Kale really did not want to be in that tournament, and it shows. She's mentioned it a couple of times. It didn't seem like she was having fun in the tournament at all. So yeah, she didn't want to be there having front row seats to everyone being doomed, essentially, like everyone's execution. That's basically what you were there for, and it kind of messed her up, honestly. It made her more anxiety prone and just worse off mentally because she got to see all those people get erased, and that's why she wishes that somebody else would have taken her place. And then she asks a real off-the-wall question. She asks Goku what his feelings are on Caulifla. Goku asks why you're interested in that, and Kale says, well, you're the only man she's shown an interest to, so I'm really curious as to what you think of Caulifla. It's a simple question, and Goku is looking at her very, very seriously. Goku really doesn't understand the line of questioning with this specific inquiry, but Kale is not gonna take that lying down, and she quite literally jumps on Goku. It's just a stupid, simple question. Answer the stupid question so I don't get mad. Yo, she's psycho, and obviously if she gets mad, this whole beach is going to be destroyed. But Goku, suddenly remembering that he's got a wife and kids at home, pushes Kale back and says, whoa, whoa, back off. Get a grip here. That's really good, honestly, because Goku has probably crossed a ton of lines here in his marriage by even taking his student here to the beach in their bikinis and going around drinking alcohol. So yeah, Goku is quite literally pushing the envelope here when it comes to his marriage, but it's a good thing that, you know, he's come to his senses. He's not gonna let Kale just jump on top of him. But this strikes pain into Kale's heart. He pushed me away. Why did he do that? Why is he repelling me? He's so mean and nice at the same time. I mean, bro or sis, he's married. and she is full on having a meltdown. But it looks here like she may have a reason why she's having a meltdown, because it looks like Caulifla jumps on Goku all the time and Goku doesn't push Caulifla off. So Kale thought that she could do the exact same thing with the same results, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. Goku's now a little worried about Kale. He's wondering if she's all right up there, and Kale is like deeply meditating and breathing, trying to hone in her anger. I know I shouldn't take things so seriously, but that hurt. He shouldn't have done that. He doesn't get it. I need to stop overreacting. Control your emotions and just breathe. You pushed me off. And breathing time is over. Kale has gone berserk. Why did you do that? Caulifla does that to you all the time and you never push her away. It's not fair. And she's throwing a huge temper tantrum while Goku is trying to calm her down, tell her not to transform, remember your training. And Goku starts realizing now, like, this chick is bipolar as hell. Even without transforming, in her base form, she's completely unhinged. And Goku's starting to realize what type of girl he just took on a date to the beach with a bunch of people around. And Goku tries to explain to her about personal space, but she's not listening at this point. She still just wants him to answer the question, but we're starting to realize here that, yeah, she is upset because she didn't get her ice cream. And Goku starts thinking to himself, he thought about it earlier, that she acts a little bit like Chi-Chi, and now he's realizing that she acts a lot worse than Chi-Chi. Well, you know, this is a younger 20-something, and Chi-Chi, you know, you've grown up with her, so that's probably what the difference is. Plus, this is a Saiyan. She can transform into a berserking rage monster, so that's also another difference. So Goku goes out of his way to get her a tremendous huge ice cream, and Kale is loving it, but Goku is starting to realize, like, he probably needs to get this chick back to Beerus' place, because, you know, she is probably just going to keep asking the same question. How does he get himself into these situations? Well, I mean, he was the one that brought her to the beach in the first place, and then she asks the same thing. Goku, still being hard-headed, doesn't understand why she wants to know this answer, and she says just answer it. So Goku says she's just a friend. That's the only way that he sees her. He's not really into a relationship type of thing. I mean, Chi-Chi can probably attest to that because he hasn't been home in forever and now he's at the beach with another woman, but that's neither here or there. Kale, of course, asks Goku, do you think that she's pretty? Do you find her attractive? And is she prettier than Kale? Kale is probably feeling a little bit self-conscious at this point, and women ask this stuff all the time, so Goku better have the right answer, and it looks like he does. No, that one is easy enough. I don't understand why you need to keep making an issue out of this. If you must know, I'm not interested in Caulifla. As a friend, sure, she's a great fighter, but that's as far as she goes. And Goku's probably trying to put an end to this right away. He doesn't want to continue down this line of questioning. And now Goku's being real with her. It doesn't matter if she understands his answer or not, but he's going to be really real with her. And the thing is that he's more interested in Kale because of her power, and he wants to know how far it goes, what new techniques there is, and the training, while Caulifla hasn't really surprised him at all throughout all their training. There's really nothing that she can show him that Goku hasn't seen yet. Goku says that Caulifla has quite literally just been following his example and copying everything that he's doing, so there's nothing new there. At the Tournament of Power, he put more interest into Caulifla because he was surprised at how powerful these two Saiyan women were, and Caulifla challenged him first. He was just shocked that Saiyans that had just found out how to do Super Saiyan the day before were so good at it the next day, and they were close to even mastering certain stages that took him a long time to do. So with the onset of that, he got really impressed as to what the power he was dealing with was, until he started training her, and that's when he realized that there's really nothing that Caulifla has that is special in that aspect. There's nothing that she can teach Goku or surprise him with, so there's really nothing challenging about fighting Caulifla. So at this point now, Goku's talking mad shit about Caulifla, specifically about her training, that she's not very interesting, and Kale will not take this lying down. And in almost a reversal of everything that's been going on in this chapter, she starts saying all the positive things about Caulifla, about how she is so amazing and an expert fighter, and there's still a lot of surprises there, and that Goku shouldn't just write her off, and the fact that she turns Super Saiyan so easily, like, there is a lot special there that Kale says, and Goku's being mean by saying that she isn't special, and Goku's like, I never said she wasn't special, it's just that she hasn't really surprised Goku throughout the training. So Kale did a 180 there, and now she is completely mad that Goku is talking crap about Caulifla. Goku says that Kaba has told them that Caulifla was the first one after Kaba to become a Super Saiyan, and how easily she became a Super Saiyan at that. And Kale's like, that shows a lot. That shows that she's extremely powerful and a talented warrior. And Goku's like, well, it says something. Kale's like, you had a hard time with it, right? She made it look easy, comparing apples and oranges. The fact that Caulifla became a Super Saiyan by the tingly feeling, and Goku, it took him a long time. The Saiyan race in Universe 7 a long time to become Super Saiyans, and then when Goku did it, it was because his best friend died. You think easy is better? And that is a question for everybody in the Dragon Ball community. Is easy or better? Do you have to struggle to be worth something and for your transformation to mean something? Or the fact that you can get things really easily, does that make it better or easier in that aspect? Like, those are serious questions that this Dragon Ball fan manga is asking us. Goku does not deny that Caulifla has talent and she is an exceptional fighter, but the fact that she got Super Saiyan so easily doesn't really mean anything, because his own son, Goten, got Super Saiyan just by doing a little bit of sparring with Chi-Chi. Not to mention the fact that Trunks became a Super Saiyan with no real explanation at all. They both became Super Saiyans extremely young and through a 7-year period of peace. So the fact that Caulifla was able to gain it so fast really doesn't mean much, seeing as how Goten and Trunks did the exact same thing. And I remember when that first happened, when I was watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, when I saw that they became Super Saiyan so quickly, I originally was super excited because I liked their designs. I liked that he was a little Goku, I liked the way Trunks looked, and I liked the fact that they became Super Saiyans at a young age. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I was like, I mean, Goku and everybody else would struggle and blood, sweat, and tears and everything to become Super Saiyan, especially future Trunks, and these kids came out of it like it's nothing. So I was a little upset, but not too much. I feel like people were more upset about Caulifla because of the tingly feeling thing. I think that translation or that whole dialogue was just terrible. If she had pushed herself a little bit and fought Kaba when he was a Super Saiyan and she was base form and she had to push herself to become Super Saiyan, that would have been awesome, but that's not the case and that's not what happened, and Goku is not impressed as to how fast Caulifla became a Super Saiyan. Goku believes that Caulifla is far more similar to Vegeta because Caulifla is the most talented Saiyan in Universe 6, and Vegeta was a high-class Saiyan, a super elite, and both of them seemingly were outclassed by other Saiyans, and Vegeta was the same way. He had to break the chip off his shoulder and become one with who he was fighting and what he was fighting for, and that developed his pride and pushed him beyond his limits. I mean, he's still trying to catch up to Goku, but he's far closer now after he dropped all the ego, everything, and became more humble, became more nurturing with his family and protective. Once he did all that and stopped aiming for Goku, he became far more powerful, and that is the reason that Goku thinks that Caulifla is similar to Vegeta. Vegeta and Caulifla need to both let go of their ego, and Caulifla has not done that yet, so she still has a long way to go before Goku realizes her true potential. And it just shows how Goku views Vegeta as well. Like, Vegeta isn't really one to surprise Goku either, I guess. And so Kale still can't wrap her head around it because she understands the way that he's comparing both these two Saiyans together and their motivations, but still Caulifla became a Super Saiyan very quickly, and Goku and Vegeta both struggled extremely hard with it. Caulifla and Kaba are both first generation Super Saiyans, as opposed to Goten and Trunks, who are essentially like third generation Super Saiyans. So Kale is arguing that there's still a lot of merit as to what Caulifla accomplished. Goku means no disrespect to Caulifla at all. It was just that they had completely different circumstances. I mean, Caulifla was shown by another Super Saiyan how to transform and what to do, so she was given guidelines, as opposed to Goku, who went off of passion, anger, anger and hatred to become a Super Saiyan in a dire situation, and Vegeta didn't want Goku's help to become a Super Saiyan, and he did it on his own by pushing his body beyond its limits and just accepting the fact that he needs to let go of some stuff to become a Super Saiyan. So there are different situations as to them becoming a Super Saiyan, and Kale doesn't understand why he is belittling Caulifla's transformation and why he keeps saying that Kale is stronger when it was harder for her to become a Super Saiyan in the first place. But Kale realizes that she really doesn't know Goku's story as to when he became a Super Saiyan, so she can't understand his perspective, and Goku's like, well, I can tell you. But Goku realizes that he's not very good at telling stories, which is true. It always feels like Goku forgot about the last fight when he enters the new one. Like, he doesn't really remember things in the past, so he probably wouldn't be very good at telling stories, but he says, I can show you the story. And Kale's like, what do you mean you can show me? And this got me interested at first. I'm like, how is he going to show her? Is he going to like wish for Shenron to bring them back somewhere, or just to see the fight, or have Whis do it? Because remember, Whis did show the fight to Beerus when Beerus woke up, but Goku says, I'll do a mind meld, which for those of you guys who are Star Trek fans would recognize that ability. Essentially, you can give all your emotions and your feelings and your memories to somebody briefly, but you have to connect with them on a psychological level. And that's exactly what Goku says. He can share his memories with Kale. And I just gotta show this cover by Kaleverse that shows the next arc of this series, which is going to be essentially a flashback to Kale being able to see the fight between Goku and Frieza, and her actually see one of the most epic fights in anime history, which I cannot wait to see. Like, this is going to be awesome. Even the cover just shows how awesome this looks and how awesome and epic it's going to be, and how he's saying that it is different circumstances. It quite literally is night and day. But Kale flips out. She does not want any part of this. She does not want Goku to go into her head and basically infiltrate her thoughts. Remember, Kale likes Goku, so this would be outing herself as to how she actually feels about Goku. And Goku's trying to tell her, no, it's just the best way to give you the full experience of the fight and everything. And Kale's calling him a jerk, like, no, we are not sharing anything. Your body's not going into my body, nothing like that. And Goku starts flipping out. Alright, that's it. I'm just trying to do something nice so maybe we can get along a little bit better, and you are just driving me nuts. God, you're worse than my ex-wife. Okay. Alright, guys. This is a huge, huge drop in this Dragon Ball fan manga. Because the entire time that I'm watching this, that I'm reading this, I am thinking that this Goku is going to be with Chi-Chi, right? That's what we all thought, right? And it just felt bad that he would go with Kale in their bikinis to the beach when Chi-Chi's at home waiting for him, right? Well, I've said it before in a few videos that this is a completely different universe than the one that we know. And so in this universe, it seems like it's confirmed by Kaleverse herself in the comments of this page, but Goku and Chi-Chi have split a long time ago. So it makes sense that Goku would be with Kale like this on the beach somewhere else. And Chi-Chi is his ex-wife. I mean, like, the next panel shows that she was terrible and she was trying to hurt somebody. You're a whole new level of crazy, you know that? Goku flipping out. And then he says, but at the same time, it's hot, which I think that that's the direction this is going. Originally, I thought it wasn't going that direction. I thought that Goku and Kale would be like this sort of like quasi, like Kale would have a crush on him and stuff. It looks like this is going to go all the way down to the finish line where Goku and Kale are absolutely going to get together. And it looks like that's the entire point of this story. And man, Goku's just really mad about Chi-Chi. Like, the way he describes her as nuts and crazy, and she was trying to hurt somebody, which I could see Chi-Chi going crazy on Goku and doing something or whatever, my jaw was on the ground when I read this panel. I'm reading this and finding this out at the same time as you guys, so this is crazy.
Wait! Oh my. Goku! Goku! Goku!
Kale's getting a little upset, but she doesn't really make much of the announcement that, you know, Goku is no longer with Chi-Chi, and so Goku keeps on yelling and screaming, "You know what, Kale, I give up. Let's have things your way." So he is essentially mimicking Kale this entire time because Kale has been going crazy since she's gotten to the beach. She's extremely unstable. Obviously, she's a 20-something-year-old in this, so yeah, she is a much younger girl than Goku and much more wild than maybe even Goku can handle, and on top of that, she is also a berserker. So yeah, she is completely unhinged, and Goku is trying to show her exactly how ridiculous she looks, which she 100% realizes at this point because, you know, he's mocking her, and then he continues to do so, but in a more cute and flirty way, even calling her cranky pants, and he's trying to get through to Kale, but Kale is not taking the message. So Goku starts thinking which character from Dragon Ball he can mock or mimic to kind of get himself pissed off, and he has it. It is the one dude that's been there from the very beginning, and that is Vegeta. And so it's time to mock Vegeta for Kale's amusement, it seems like at this point. And so let's go ahead and jump into this mocking. 3, 2, 1. But just because I don't want to kill your ears, I am actually going to talk this part out in a very low register as opposed to what Goku is actually doing. So he does take a deep breath and he yells, "Kakarot, you dumbass. Why are you always one step ahead and wrecking my pride?" See, isn't that much more soothing to the ears? I just think of you guys. I don't want to hurt your ears.
Alright now, Gohan. When you get out there, try not to brag.
About what?
That's it, son. Don't let slip just how much stronger we are. Otherwise, Vegeta will be all,
Oh, but my pride, girl, I wish I were a carrot.
That's not inaccurate.
But yes, Goku is going crazy and ballistic, mimicking characters that would originally make him mad in Dragon Ball. And as Goku finally riles himself up, he manages to get a little bit of a snicker from Kale, and so at this point, Goku goes and sulks on another side of the beach. And Kale can barely gather her giggles. She is just about to crack up. And Goku at this point, I think realistically, he probably did piss himself off or make himself in that negative mindset that he was trying to mimic to show her how silly it was for her to be like that for every little thing that Goku has said. If you do not remember exactly how crazy she was going in the last chapter, I'm going to have a link to the entire playlist of Kale x Goku. Make sure to go ahead and check it out. Kale busts out laughing and says that she's not mad anymore. He can stop now, but he is still sulking, and that's when she pokes him and says, "Master, Goku?" And Goku's completely ignoring her because Goku now has officially made himself into this pissed off state. But of course, Goku is playing with her and he starts messing around with her, acting extremely silly, something that she 100% can notice. And can I just say that this outfit on Kale is A1 plus certified deliciousness. This is a good look on her. I 100% stand this look. And so Kale continues to try to get Goku's attention and thinks, you know what, I have the right idea. So as she lifts up her finger, a little bit of ki at the end, and slowly puts it toward Goku, she touches his back and shocks him with a little bit of her ki, making Goku start laughing because of course he is ticklish, and this is probably like an extreme tickle because she did infuse some of her ki into his back, and now he is back to normal. And he's acting more childish than ever, but he is at this point, I think, lining up to Kale, and they're getting along. It looks like this is the beginning of them starting to form something a little bit more, and Kale is showing that she can play around with Goku and Goku can play around with Kale. So that's really good to see, honestly. You need to see that character development before you start seeing exactly where the story is headed. A little bit of time passes and Goku's still on the stump, but Kale has been going around the beach collecting seashells. Now Goku's actually looking through his wallet and he realizes that he does not have enough money to pay for the ramen that they had ordered, an hour ago, because he doesn't have enough for Beerus, Whis, and everybody back at the planet, and he only has enough for Kale and him. So yeah, and that is like stretching it too. So Goku really didn't bring much money to the beach, and you can blame Chi-Chi for that one. You know she got hers once they decided to part ways. But Kale tries to grab Goku's attention and asks him if he would come off the log. Goku says why, and she says that she would like to talk, but he does look like a monkey up there. Now this is supposed to be played off for comedic effect, but Goku's tail comes up and scratches his head because she called him a monkey, and he says, "Are you done being crazy?" And in her mind, you know, she's kind of upset that he's calling her crazy. I mean, any girl is going to be upset if you call them crazy. But at the same time, she's thinking that maybe she's overreacting, and even though he's a little mean sometimes, the comment doesn't really anger her, so she's going to respond to it with yes. Again, this is not normal Goku from Dragon Ball Z. This is post Chi-Chi screaming at him for so long type of Goku that he does not want anybody yelling or acting erratic around him, which, yeah, he picked the wrong girl in that one with Kale. Kale finally agrees to use the technique that Goku was talking about, so that way Goku can show her exactly what happened on planet Namek. So she was originally worried about Goku going into her thoughts and seeing her emotions and everything, and she didn't want to do that. So Goku actually has a new secret technique, so that way she doesn't show him anything that she doesn't want to see, and Goku can actually show her the memory of going to planet Namek and becoming a Super Saiyan for the first time. And the description of this technique is basically put all her thoughts, feelings, and emotions, dreams, all the things that she want to keep secret from Goku, put those in a chest and seal the chest off. Now, don't even think about them, don't think about anything, and that way when Goku gives her the mind meld and gives her those memories of Namek, that's all he's going to see, her watching those memories. But if she thinks of anything in that interim, if she has any thoughts that come up, then he will be able to see them. So I'm thinking that when they actually start this brand new Namek arc, which is all in her head, which is actually kind of cool to think about, that an entire arc or a chapter would be in her head. But yeah, once they go into this Namek arc, I think that she's going to see how Goku became a Super Saiyan for the first time, and gonna go through a lot of the really cool moments from the Namek arc. But at one point, she's gonna start thinking about her attractiveness to Goku, and that is gonna come up, and Goku's gonna see that, and then that is what's gonna start off where Goku is gonna see Kale as a potential mate. And once her worries and everything is locked up nice and tight, he tells her to clear her mind, which she does, and once he touches her forehead with his fingers, she will receive the entire full story of Planet Namek. I mean, if she just bought the cassette tapes and had all of them with the Namek story on there, then she could probably actually, know exactly what happens on Planet Namek. But Goku's gonna give her the first-hand experience, so maybe she can actually be there and see it. It'd be kind of cool if she can interact with Super Saiyan Goku from Namek, or even Frieza. That would be kind of dope to see. But Goku points his fingers at her forehead, and off we go to the next chapter.
Why don't you let him go? It's gotta be important if Dad wants it this bad.
Let's go, Tin. Mom and Dad are talking.
Okay.
Don't get angry, Mom, but I think you should let him go too.
I said no and I meant no, Gohan.
The last time we left off on Kale versus Goku x Kale Dragon Ball fan manga, we saw that Goku was about to do a mind meld with Kale to show her exactly how he transformed into a Super Saiyan for the first time, bringing her into the world of Namek and Goku versus Frieza. But we actually got a special bonus chapter that I wanted to go ahead and touch on, that is going to lead into a semi-prequel that happens a few years earlier than Goku training Kale and subsequently going on a date with her to that beach, because this wasn't the first time that Goku actually brought someone to that beach on their first date. So Goku's been playing the field for a while now after he divorced from Chi-Chi, and I thought originally that Kale was the first girl that made it so Goku jumped back on the horse, but it looks like Goku has been divorced from Chi-Chi for many years, and he has actually been out hunting and actually found a girl that he had a relationship with, and this is going to be a prequel manga that is going to come out alongside Goku x Kale. So make sure you support the artist and creator Kaleverse on Twitter. I'm gonna leave a link to her Twitter account in the description below. Make sure you go ahead and check out the DeviantArt page as well. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
本当におめえもう一人の21号とそっくりだよな。
彼女は私の中で生まれたもう一つの存在ですから。
じゃあさ、あの悪いやつとおめえどっちの方が強いんだ？
だから力は向こうが上ですね。
そっか、残念だな。全部終わったら手汗頼みてえと思ったんだけど。
First, a little rundown on the new girl in Goku's life, and that is Ella. The story is going to be called Tale of a Songbird, and it is Goku's first relationship after divorcing with Chi-Chi. First of all, let me go ahead and comment on the design of this girl. I definitely 100% am with it. I love redheads. I love how long and wavy her hair is. I love the design overall. Not only is she thick in all the right places, but also, personally for me, I just love her outfit. I love the outfit mainly due to the fact that this is actually Rose's outfit. Rose wears an exact same outfit similar to this. Ella is a musician, a very popular musician on Earth, and she ends up falling in love with Goku, and Goku vice versa, because she thinks that Goku is her #1 fan. Goku is a fan of her music, but at the same time he has feelings for her, and that is the catalyst for the story. Now, it is extremely important to note that Ella actually suffers from a hereditary disease, and this illness runs in her family. Now, she's not around during Goku X Kale, so I can only assume that this illness is something extremely important to the plot, exactly what happens to her, and maybe something that gives us a tragic ending to her story. Here we have a page giving us a side-by-side of exactly what the experience was and the difference the experience was between Goku X Ella versus Goku X Kale. So Ella was having a particularly bad day, and Goku decided that to cheer her up, he's going to bring her exactly to that same spot he takes Kale years later, and he knows that Ella loves food, she loves to eat, and so she was brought there specifically for the ramen because she more than likely can out-eat Goku. And you can see the difference here in the panels because Goku looks like he's head over heels in love with this girl and he just wants to make her happy, and this is exactly a contrast between the two experiences he's having with Kale. So you can tell that he's not head over heels in love with Kale at this point, similar to how he was with Ella, mainly due to the fact that I believe Goku sees Kale still as his student, he's still training her, and if he were to get romantically involved, it might jeopardize the training, and that is exactly what is going through his head, his mind, and I believe that that is why this relationship is completely different than 5 years earlier. Now, Son Goku divorced and a widower, life goes on. Wait, a widower? Chi-Chi's dead? Oh, okay. So apparently this was a mistake. Chi-Chi is not dead. I was about to say, okay, oh my god, you guys really don't like Chi-Chi that much. It's crazy. You guys took her out back and just ended it and gave Goku an escape, an outlet. And I've showed you guys some of the clips from Dragon Ball Super between Goku and Chi-Chi, and it's just terrible. So I can see why the majority of the fandom does not like Chi-Chi, and why you guys really enjoy these Goku X other female videos. But yeah, Chi-Chi's not dead, this is just a mistake on the panel. And so the beginning of this prequel shows Goku taking her to eat ramen, then they go into the beach and Goku's trying to play around with her, trying to get a little bit touchy-feely, but she ends up stepping on a conch shell, I believe. They end up looking for oysters, maybe looking to see if there's some food inside of them because she loves food, and they end up watching the sunset together, Goku looking like a JoJo character, and her actually having a very similar outfit, but different contrasting colors than Kale does 5 years later. This is the beginning of their story, and I'm sure there is going to be more panels of Goku X Ella to come. We get a glimpse of Planet Namek and its destruction. Frieza, Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan, Krillin, Bulma, no, Krillin, and of course Kale is seeing everything in fast forward, everything, all the events that happened on Planet Namek between Goku and Frieza. Obviously she is feeling all the emotions that Goku had, the pain that Frieza killing Krillin caused him, because Goku ends it all by yelling Frieza. And we get the famous lines, "I won't let you get away with this." And Kale is seeing it all in her mind's eye. Her third eye, she gets to see everything that Goku has gone through. This is actually a really cool concept, this whole mind meld thing. Kind of wish they actually used this in Dragon Ball Super. That way Goku in Dragon Ball Super wouldn't forget so many things that happened in the past. Somebody else would use this on him, but I definitely like this version. Like I said, guys, Dragon Ball Super has its pros and cons, but a lot of the stuff from Dragon Ball Z, especially with Goku, is lost. A lot of the seriousness, a lot of him making decisions that actually affect the future and, you know, thinking deeply about certain things. Those things are completely gone from Dragon Ball Super, and that's kind of why I give it such a hard time. But Dragon Ball fan mangas never forget that stuff, and they have it all in spades. We get to see how Goku envisioned Frieza, how he sees Frieza. Frieza is a cold-blooded monster with rage deep in his heart, just an evil being. That's all Goku sees of Frieza, and he calls him a monster, and Frieza is as racist as ever, good luck monkey, and Goku's, "I can't forgive you for the things you've done," which he kind of does. I mean, he brings him into Tournament of Power, he lets him go in Dragon Ball Super Broly, Resurrection of F, he is refraining from killing him, letting Earth die, and then, you know, having to come back again in time to kill him more permanently. So, I mean, yeah, Goku never forgave him for those things, but at the same time, you know, he kind of tolerates Frieza at a different level than anybody else. But Kale is seeing all this stuff for the first time, and she is in shock with just how epic Dragon Ball Z was and how cool and awesome the Planet Namek arc seemed to be, and she has all this information now. In Coryverse, you did a fantastic job. Frieza looks great, menacing, and exactly how I remembered him back on Planet Namek. I felt like Planet Namek did Frieza justice. That arc had Frieza's artwork looking very, very alien and evil, but a little bit of mystery to him, and I like that you kind of went that same direction. But of course, Frieza is just being Frieza, saying that he will never defeat him, and even if he tries, he will fail. Kale starts seeing Goku when he first faces off against Frieza. You see that Vegeta is not really buried, like Goku barely buried him in the anime, so he's kind of still like protruding right there. And we see that Kale sees from Goku's perspective that he is so astonished that somebody could be so completely evil, because he has been able to change people's minds before, Piccolo, Vegeta, but not Frieza. And all that information, that entire mind meld finally ends, and Kale is probably the better for it. Now she knows the entire story of Dragon Ball Z, and she thinks about it. But Kale didn't see anything, so Goku wanted to show Kale the first time he went into a Super Saiyan, and she didn't get that. She just saw him, you know, arguing with him and fighting him, and she actually never got to see how the ending of the Planet arc actually went. But Goku changed the rules. He altered the rules of the mind meld. Originally, he was going to show her everything, and that way she can see exactly what happened, but all that information would have been too much. So he showed her like small bits of him about to be transformed into a Super Saiyan and the beginning of the fight. So he did a little bit of a switcheroo there on the tactics that he was going to employ. Goku explains that he has created what he calls is a memory bubble. It has all the information, my memories and such in it, but you'll only be able to access that information in your dreams. Dreamscape, oh, the name drop of the manga. So yeah, Goku says that basically all this information's in her head, but when she sleeps she'll dream about it. So basically Goku has hijacked all of Kale's dreams for the next foreseeable future, depending how long the story goes. I mean, dreaming about Dragon Ball Z ain't that bad anyway. Whis finally comes back in his bathing suit. He is actually surprised that Goku came to the conclusion that all that information given to Kale would have been too much, and he was going to interfere, but he realized that Goku had it all handled, so that's all there is to it. I mean, the entire arc for the Namek arc is probably like maybe, I mean, if you binged it, it'd be at least 8 to 10 hours maybe, I would say. I don't know, I'm kind of guessing at the top of my head. So yeah, all that information all at once would have been too much. So he's going to give her each episode of Dragon Ball Z's Namek arc every night while she falls asleep. Which, it's a cool concept, I like it. It gives longevity to the manga because she's going to continuously be seeing this story of, you know, Goku transforming into a Super Saiyan, how he felt. I definitely like this concept a lot. This is really, really cool. And Kale actually agrees that this is probably a better way to do it. She didn't want to get overwhelmed, and of course Kale is the last person you want to overwhelm mentally because, you know, she is a legendary berserker. But yeah, it's good that she gets to see these movies and gets to know Goku a little bit better. So Goku quite literally made it so Kale, even in her dreams, is going to be dreaming about Goku all the time. Man, Goku, single Goku's, he knows what he's doing. But just then, somebody flies toward them at top speed. Goku realizes it first, and he sees that someone is coming up right above them, and he knows exactly who it is. Kale hasn't noticed it yet, but somebody is flying right at them till it's too late and the person is finally there. It looks like someone dressed in the same gi as Goku with red hair. And it is Goku's illegitimate child. Now, this looks like a girl, but he said he's coming, so, you know, it could be a boy. Either way, this one is calling Goku daddy, and even Whis is like, well, this is unexpected, and Kale realizes that Goku's the type of guy to have a bunch of illegitimate children everywhere, apparently. Because, yeah, he seems surprised also. If you guys don't recognize this kid, it looks just like the girl, or Goku's ex, essentially. So yeah, Goku instantly remembers the child that is running right toward him, and he reaches out to hold him. And as his son runs right toward his arms, right behind him, Goku starts to see a vision of his mother long past. But it seems like this is more than just a vision, as she is fully visible on the bottom right hand corner. And it looks like she is there physically, and of course she is long since deceased, but Goku is asking how she's been, and she even has the halo on her head. She could be using the same exact technique that Goku used in the BoJack movie, where he temporarily came into the physical plane to save Gohan. Ella says nothing but closes her eyes and whispers remember, fading away into nothing. And it was almost like she was never really there as Goku reaches for his son. And it seems like Goku wasn't just the only one that could see her, because Kale saw her as well, thinking that she was a ghost. Goku calls out her name over and over again, but she is gone, as his son waves goodbye to her and hopes to see her soon. Goku looks back at Whis in worry because he's worried that she is breaking the law, and I'm assuming this is actually her spirit at this point, and yes, it looks like Whis confirms it that she is actually using a very similar technique to the one Goku used back in the Dragon Ball Z movie, where she comes into the world as a projection, not physically. So Goku kind of punched BoJack in that movie, so we're kind of working around the rules here where, yeah, you can interact with the things on the planet, but you can come back as a vision almost. It's the same way that ghosts are allowed to interact with the living. That's basically what Whis says, and it's almost the exact same technique that Goku has used when it comes to allowing him to communicate telepathically between worlds, similar to what I think he's done it before, and he used King Kai also to do it before. So it's a similar technique to that. And so that was actually the mother of the boy. And if you guys remember from the spin-off manga, The Songbird, she was dying of an incurable disease, and it does look like she ended up passing away. Kale is completely lost at this point and asking who the hell was that, and the boy says that was his mom and she passed away, and Goku reaffirms that she can come back to visit every once in a while, but you know, she can't stay for very long. Goku looks down tenderly to his son, and he's happy that his son gets to see her every once in a while, and it looks like she even has some of her abilities back, so she could have some abilities that are only for her bloodline that we have not seen yet. But she was allowed to keep her body. Essentially, that's the reason that she can manifest herself in that way. And Goku's son asks if you can see her too, and no, he can't, because he's been on Beerus' planet, and she's really not allowed to just show up there. Not unless Beerus directly invites her to come to the planet and gives her permission. And we see here a really cute cartoon where she's asking permission to see Goku, and Beerus is like, you know what, I don't mind you, but next time bring cake. And he agrees to have her see him, so it looks like Goku probably can see her, you know, every once in a while, like not as much as obviously the son can, but yeah, he's got a really strong connection to this woman that we saw him dating in that spin-off chapter. I want to see exactly how deep this connection actually goes. Goku introduces them to each other because they don't know who they are. So Goku says that his son's name is Angel, which is fitting, and he introduces Kale as a Saiyan, pure-blooded Saiyan from a different planet, in a different universe where their planet actually exists. Goku says that she's visiting him and that Angel has been training with Master Roshi, which I think is pretty neat. I wonder why Goku's not with the son, although I shouldn't wonder at all, honestly, but I guess there might be a reason that he's not with the son. That's a little more profound than just Goku wanting to train and not be with his children all the time. But I could see that the son probably isn't going to warm up to Kale that much because, of course, his mother passed away, and it looks like Goku may be trying to move on with another pure-blooded Saiyan. And we get a cool little image here of Angel training with Master Roshi, and Goku asks if he's been giving Master Roshi any trouble, and he says, no, I've been good. And it looks like he's doing the exact same training that Goku did back in Dragon Ball, so that's good. At least Roshi can harness the skills of this kid because he is half Saiyan, and it looks like the mother was an Earthling with special abilities of some kind that we don't know yet. So I'm wondering if maybe there's something more to this kid. Maybe he's gonna have some cool ability that is gonna, you know, be an asset when it comes to future fights, if there are any more future fights in this manga. It looks like Roshi finally caught up, and Angel seems to have flown toward Goku, maybe after sensing him on the planet, and Roshi needed to be a much quicker babysitter than that. Goku and Master Roshi catch up. Master Roshi wants to know how his training is going. Of course, Goku's training is going well. I mean, he is a sensei of his own in training in that aspect, so he's definitely doing a lot more than he was doing on Earth. And he explains that he came to Earth for some ramen and introduces Kale to Roshi and asks Kale if she remembers Roshi because he was at the tournament, and I don't think Kale really remembers him, but she's being polite and says hello. So this is all happening in Roshi's mind, and it's a giant exposition dump, and this is the cliffhanger to this manga, and I'm hoping that the next chapter comes out soon, but this explains exactly why Goku is not here and why he's been away from the child. So essentially, Ella ended up passing away, obviously due to her medical circumstances, and the only reason that Goku fell in love with her was because Chi-Chi pushed him to find a job as her bodyguard, and as he began to, you know, be her bodyguard, he started, you know, having some feelings or whatever. Chi-Chi and Goku ended up splitting, and then once they split, Goku asked out Ella, and it looks like they got married and were married for 4 years. So Goku and Ella were married for a while actually, and they had an entire life together, it seems. So that makes sense why Goku is so hung up on her and took it really hard when she passed away. So hard actually that Dende ended up removing the memories away from Ella and Angel, leaving Angel with Roshi and letting Goku have some time to grieve on his own, in his own terms, in his own way. But as soon as he was reunited with Angel, all those memories came back, and you can tell by Goku's face that he's putting up a really good act here, trying to be strong, but the pain of losing Ella was just too much.
Subscribe for more content. Or perish.